So welcome to BetSafe's preview to week 3 of the Autumn Internationals. I'm Jim Hamilton here, of course, again with...
Andy Goode.
That's right, Andy Goode. And we're going to have a look at last week's games, this week's games. We're just going to look at rugby, full stop. Goody, what did we see last week?
Well, we saw Argentina fall short at Twickenham against England, didn't we? Ireland, they thrashed the Springboks as we thought, and as I thought, and as I predicted. Wales lost again to the Wallabies. This week, though, we're going to be looking at England against Australia, Scotland against New Zealand, and France v South Africa.
Do you not want to talk about Scotland beating Samoa?
Well, wasn't a great game, was it?
It was an amazing game. It was a great game. So let's get into it, OK? So England, this week, they're up against their old enemy, the Aussies, the Wallabies.
We are, but we've beaten Australia 4 times on the spin now. Obviously, you go back to 2016, the summer of 2016. We had a whitewash over in Australia. We beat them 3 times there. We beat them at Twickenham last Autumn Internationals as well, fairly comfortably. Last time Australia beat England was the World Cup, Jim, and that was when you... Oh, no, you weren't playing in that either, were you?
Should have been.
Should have been. Should have been.
So talking about the England-Australia, let's go back, OK? At the weekend, England were average at best. We saw Eddie Jones effing and blinding every word in the sun. I liked it. Bit of character.
Passionate, wasn't it?
Bit of passion, bit of emotion, but they weren't that great against Argentina at the weekend.
No, our attack was poor. Defensively, we were sound. Argentina didn't really trouble us defensively. They scored a try towards the end, but Sam Underhill was pretty special in that sense. But our attack was really blunt, I thought, and the team looked quite flat in attack as well. We certainly missed Owen Farrell hugely in terms of his leadership, his game management, etc. And sort of people are pointing the finger at Henry Slade a little bit. I thought he had some really nice touches. Yes, we were rusty. Potentially, the England team had trained too hard over those last 2 weeks. But there were some new combinations in there. And in reality, I think you look at the game, England should have won more comfortably. Argentina left 14 points out there on the tee, didn't they? Magic Juan Hernandez, missed a fair few kicks there. So disappointing for Argentina. England, we got the victory, not in great circumstances. Nathan Hughes carried pretty well.
Alex Lazowski played well, our friend, the Saracens man.
Alex Lazowski came off the bench and really injected some pace, didn't he? Made that Syrian break. So does he come into the team? I don't know. Owen Farrell's got to come back into the team. England will make a couple of changes. Maro Itoje, your sort of guy that you've brought through the ranks. Mentored, that's the word I was after. Taught him everything you knew, Jim Hamilton. So England Rugby owes Jim Hamilton a big thank you.
They owe me a huge thank you.
There we go.
They've produced one of the greats already, as we've seen, and he's going to make a huge difference. Let's talk a little bit about Mako Vunipola. OK, 20 tackles at the weekend. I've picked him out as a key player for England this weekend. You've seen him there, carrying low. He probably got back up and went on to score that try after, but he's a fantastic player. We all know that. There's been question marks around his set piece and his rapport with some of the referees. He seems to improve that. It wasn't the finish article the weekend against Argentina. The Australia scrum isn't as good, but in open play, tell me if there's a better loose head in the world. 20 tackles at the weekend.
Yeah, 20 tackles and something like 14 ball carries as well, wasn't it?
Well, ball carries, you know, but he's got the ability to play out the back. He's got the hands of a centre.
Well, he created Nathan Hughes' try pretty much in the first half. Mako Vunipola took the ball to the line, pulled it out the back to George Ford. George Ford then floats a pass over to Nathan Hughes, but it was all created by Mako Vunipola tying in 2 Argentina defenders right on the gain line. So he's a massively important player for England. He'll continue in that #1 shirt. For me, he's probably the best loose head in the world.
And he's obviously not playing with his brother Billy Vunipola, but in his place, or in the back row, filling a void, or potentially not because he played so well, we've picked out Sam Underhill as well. Like we mentioned, again, 20-odd tackles. We're only going on the stats, but we saw him making goal line tackles at the weekend. Young player that's come through the system, big future. You know, we were talking last week, you know, would it be him? Would it be Tom Curry, who's now injured? Would it be Sam Simmons coming on? But no, he's come on. He's done well. I think he's got more in his game still. I think that we saw a few inaccuracies in the back of the line out where they dropped the ball. They had that opportunity. Steve Borthwick was pulling his last couple of hairs out that he had. But yeah, fantastic player, big future. And he's going to be a big game at the weekend. He's going to be tested against Australia.
Yeah, he is. And what I loved about Sam Underhill, all the tackles that he made, they were impact tackles as well, weren't they? They weren't soak-up tackles. And sometimes you look at some of the performances from players and they say, oh, he's made 20 tackles. Well, they're all negative impact tackles going backwards. A lot of his, as you saw in that picture just there, he's making solid hits, isn't he? And he's going to have a real battle on his hands this weekend against Michael Hooper, who for me is the best open side in the world for Australia. So looking forward to seeing Sam Underhill play again. I think he's going to be our 7 for quite a few years. He's a youngster. It was his first start at Twickenham in an England shirt. I think he played really well.
Yeah, definitely. And who have you gone for in the backs? I mean, you mentioned Owen Farrell. He must be your key player this week.
Owen Farrell is the key player for England rugby. He's our best player. Him and Billy Van der Poel are our best 2 players. But for me, in terms of a guy that runs a game, has impacts on the game, not only himself, but around people as well. So he makes players look so much better than they actually are. Just with his game control, his ability to go to the line, pull the ball back, put players in space. He's also got that ability to throw the long ball as well and put the likes of Jonathan Joseph on an outside arc. So for me, he's our key player. We looked a little bit lost without him on Saturday against Argentina. His battle, does he play 10 and you keep Slade in the centre, or does he go back to 12 and keep George Ford at 10? I don't think George Ford played particularly well, and I think that was to do with not having his mate Owen Farrell next to him.
I think Faz should be at 10. I don't think George Ford should play. Just my opinion, Goody. Okay. Defensively, they've got to be good. Okay. Then on to Australia, we picked out a few key guys. I'll go first. I'm struggling to say his name. Sean McMahon.
Well, Sean McMahon, it's not hard.
Yeah, Sean McMahon. Yeah, exactly. So I've gone for him. If anyone saw the Bledisloe Cup this year, you know, we talk about some of the performances, standout performances. He was a standout performer. You need to have a look. Go on YouTube, type in his name, and what will come up, you will see a 23-year-old guy. Pocock's obviously injured. You mentioned Hooper's fantastic player, but this guy all round, not the biggest guy you'll ever see, but a great carrier. They're tipping him to be captain over in Australia, and they're also a bit of disappointment because he's now going to go and play his rugby in Japan apparently, which is weird, isn't it? That just shows you maybe the state of Australian rugby, but he's key for them. Again, them beating Wales at the weekend, I was surprised with how comfortable they were at times, Australia, how physical they are. But if Australia are to perform against England, he's going to need to turn up for them, definitely.
Well, he certainly is. And you look at his impacts on the game, both defensively, we've seen him smash Josh Navidi there, but also...
He's eating his hair, isn't he?
He is. He's got a few dreadlocks that he's eating. I like that.
Vitamins.
But you look at that, his impact's ball in hand as well. He carries big. And obviously his battle with Nathan Hughes, I presume Nathan Hughes is going to play number 8 again for England this weekend. That's going to be a mouth-watering battle, and Sean McMahon will have a big impact on this game.
Sean McMahon?
Sean McMahon. It's easy, Jim.
It's like Vince McMahon, the WWE.
Exactly.
WWF, however you go.
Well, let's go into the backs then. So obviously Australia littered with great backs, but none more important than me than Will Genia. He got man of the match at the weekend against Wales, controlled things. And if you talk about England, their last 4 performances, their last 4 wins against Australia, this guy hasn't played for Australia once in any of those 4 games. So he is crucial to Australia this weekend. He's threatening around the base of rucks. He snipes, he puts people in holes, but his game distribution and understanding is phenomenal. So Will Genia is going to be a really important cog in the wheel for Australia. His battle against Ben Youngs, who's probably going to start again for England at 9, is really important. He's a man that can really put this Australia team in the right places around the field with his leadership, and one to watch out for.
Not Curtly Bill? You're not going to mention him?
I'm going to mention Curtly Bill as well.
Of course you will.
Of course you will.
He's a Wasp man.
He's a Wasp player, isn't he?
Yeah, okay, you said it.
So let's move on. Curtly Bill, looking at him now, he is... attacking-wise, you saw the try he scored at the weekend. That was from defensive work. He went in and he stripped the ball off a Welsh attacker.
I've seen that happen to you many a time.
No, I stripped other things off people.
Did you? Okay.
I used to nick people's lunch and stuff. No, there we go. But Curtly Bill, in terms of attack, he's playing at fullback. He had some real impetus on the counter-attack. Scored a try from 50 out at the weekend that no one thought he could score because he must have stolen the ball illegally. Well, no, he didn't. He got his hands in there, stripped the ball in the tackle, went away with it, ran 50 metres, and that was the decisive try for Australia to go further ahead and win the game comfortably in the end against Wales. So he's going to be a key man for Australia. Let's have a think about a prediction, Jim. What are you going for?
Well, I think England need to be a lot better. I think they will be a lot better in this second week for them. Owen Farrell, Maratos, you mentioned them two are going to make an undeniable contribution and difference to that team. I'm going to say England are going to win, but Australia are on the up. They beat New Zealand last game, they beat Wales. Cardiff's not an easy place to go and play rugby, let alone win. But I just think England are too strong. I think they're too well coached. I think it's probably a good thing they got, I was going to say they got beat by Argentina. It felt like a defeat from watching it, but the fact they didn't play that well is going to put England in a good position. So I'm going to go England 25, Australia 12.
Oh, okay, quite comfortable then.
Yeah, quite comfortable. Yeah.
Well, I agree. I think England are going to win. Owen Farrell will have a big impact, as you said, on the game. We haven't talked about the coaches, Eddie Jones and Michael Checker. They absolutely despise each other.
Is that true? Is that real?
It is true. It is true. They had a big history as player and coach before. Didn't really get on, and now they're head coach of Australia and England respectively. Eddie Jones is an Australian as well, so there's loads of different undercurrents with that. But for me, I think England will win. It'll be close. I'm going to go England 32, Australia 25.
It's going to be a cracker, Goody.
Should be a good game.
It's going to be a cracker. And that brings us on to our next game. Maybe the game of the week. Game of the weekend, Scotland versus the All Blacks.
Foregone conclusion.
What?
40
Close.
points. 40 points.
40 points?
40 points to the All Blacks.
Come on, mate.
Scotland, if they're leaking tries against Samoa, a Samoan team that punch way above their weight. Tim Nanai-Williams played at 10, didn't he? They had some exciting players, Samoa, but you swap Samoa out and you put the best team in the world, the best attacking team in the world as well. Scotland had horrendous issues defensively, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
And when you've got players like Bowden Barrett, Waisake Naholo, Sonny Bill, if he can find some form again, these guys are world stars and will rip the Scottish defence to absolute pieces.
Let's stop you there. Let's go back and we'll talk a little bit about Samoa, because they deserve our time here, because they covered themselves in glory with all the off-pitch field, the stuff that's going back home, the bankruptcy, the lack of money in Samoan rugby, which is a real shame. Let's talk about their performance, okay? Right, Scotland were poor defensively. I commentated on the game. I was shocked how passive they were around the fringes, and I think they've got an issue in terms of their size and physicality in the front five.
Do they need Big Jim back?
Maybe since when I left. When I left, it's just never been the same.
Absolutely dreaming.
But they did. But Samoa, to be fair to them, we mentioned it before, Scotland struggle against teams that have got power. Samoa, Tonga, Fiji that they lost in the summer, South Africa, New Zealand this weekend. They've got to be significantly better. We've seen what they've got in attack. Finn Russell, Stuart Hogg, we saw a few glimpses, didn't get much ball, but Samoa, if they would have had a stronger set piece and they had a better kicking game, they would have won the game. And that would have been a shock, because Gregor Townsend, first home game for Scotland at the weekend, they're now playing the All Blacks. And last time the All Blacks came to town, I was involved then, didn't play, could have beat them.
We say could have.
Should have.
Should have.
Should have.
Would have. But didn't. Tell me the last time Scotland beat the All Blacks.
Never.
There we go.
Never.
There's my argument finished.
Well,
40 points.
We're not on predictions at the minute, but I'm the same as you. Are they going to win? Look, if All Blacks turn up and they play their best game and Scotland play the best game they've ever played, the All Blacks are still going to win.
Yeah.
So let's see what the All Blacks bring. But anyway, I've picked out some key players for Scotland, okay? First up, we've got this man. He was good at the weekend. He's getting better and better every week. Johnny Gray.
Again, another one of your disciples,
Yeah,
is he?
exactly. He's one of my prodigies. I was his mentor. Basically, he came in and took my position, so I shouldn't be talking him up. He took my place. But his brother's injured, so his brother's not playing. Ben Tourist has been playing alongside him, who played well as well. But he's got to play well now. He's got to step up. He's only 23. They're all so young.
They are.
Good at this day. So
Young man's game.
missed out on the British Lions, picked up an injury. It was probably the best thing that happened to him. Could reevaluate what he was doing. He looks fitter. He looks stronger. He's running hard at people. Look, he's going to be up against it. If Retallick not going to be playing because he didn't tour, but the second rows that they've got in New Zealand, he's going to be up against it this weekend. So Johnny Gray, for me, has to step it up 2, 3, 4-fold to be up against the All Blacks. So I've gone for him as a prediction.
And then the backs.
Who do you think I've gone for?
I think you're going to go for Hugh Jones.
I have. Correct.
There he is.
There he is. Yeah, I've gone for him. When he plays, Scotland play well.
Yeah.
And Scotland win. If you would have seen him in the World Cup, what he could do, his ball out of contact. We've obviously got no visuals here to show you, but his try at the weekend wasn't easy. Ball in two hands, slight dummy, one-on-one tackle. He's a clever player. Born in Edinburgh, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, so he's Scottish.
He is. We found
He's
one.
Scottish.
We found a Scotsman.
So he's come back off injury, got man of the match in the Currie Cup final. Quality player. They keep him fit. Have they got a chance? I'm not saying they've got a chance, but they've got a better chance of scoring tries, that's for sure.
We talk about having a chance. They certainly have more of a chance now, because looking to New Zealand, you've picked out a forward that isn't going to be playing and has a massive impact on the New Zealand team, haven't you?
Well, we picked him out because we thought he was going to be key, and he's obviously not playing. So Dane Coles picked up a nasty injury at the weekend. I think he's ruptured his ACL.
Yeah, it's a 9-month.
Something like that. So he's classed as, in my opinion, him and Jamie George are the leading hookers in the world in terms of ability and the way that they play. He was injured during the Lions tour. We saw probably a slight void in the New Zealand team because he wasn't playing. So yeah, so he's picked up an injury and now they're down to there. Do you know who their other hooker is?
Yes, I do. But you're going to tell me his name.
His name is Cody Taylor.
Cody Taylor.
His
He
name
played
is
against the
Cody
Lions,
Taylor.
didn't
He did. He was good. He scored that good try, didn't he? They whipped out. He picked the balls up from his ankles. But
let's go on to the backs, though. This is the most important thing. If you think Stuart Hogg is a good counter-attacker, he has got nothing on this guy.
He's tiny.
Damien McKenzie scores tries for fun, left, right and centre. He is the best player to counter-attack in world rugby right now.
He's tiny though.
He's tiny, but he's quick. He bounces out of tackles. He punches way above his weight. His footwork's phenomenal. You kick loosely to him, he's going to hurt you. And I think the Scots, they're going to have to go aerial and they're going to have to go contestable to kick, because that's where you can put him under pressure. Because as you said, Jim, he is so small. You kick long to him and give him time to counter-attack back, whether it's him, whether it's any of the other back three, like Naholo as well. He's a superstar. But Damon McKenzie, for me, the form fullback in the world at the minute, he could rip Scotland to pieces and it could be a horror show.
Well, so funny you say that. Again, I'm going to touch on it now because I want to see Scotland do well. OK, Scotland have got an aerial game. They didn't play that at the weekend. They were playing this fast, frantic style. You can't do it against this team. But the injuries. Tommy Seymour's got an injured foot. Hopefully he'll play. You will talk about that aerial battle. If he's fit, Scotland are one of the best teams in the world in the aerial.
Is he dreaming?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Predictions, who do you think then?
Oh, I'm going
Scotland?
comfortably. No, I'm going comfortably. New Zealand to win by, OK, I won't say 40. You've come up with a good argument there, Jim. You've put forward some good ideas to me, but I'm going New Zealand by 30. 50 points to 20.
50 points to 20?
50 points to 20 to New Zealand.
I'm going to go 30 points to 15 to New Zealand.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. OK, so we're going to go on to the next game.
France versus South Africa.
Mate, how bad? How bad was South Africa?
Oh, South Africa, because France weren't much better.
Yeah, but they're playing the All Blacks.
Yep.
How bad was South Africa?
Well, it was their biggest ever defeat to Ireland,
They
wasn't
didn't score a try.
No.
Who don't score tries these days?
Even you can score tries, Jim, right?
Exactly.
International tries?
One.
Same as me.
Really?
There we go. Big time players, eh?
OK, similar position as well, 5 metres out.
Exactly. Obviously, South Africa, their biggest ever defeat to Ireland, 38-3. They looked absolutely run down with ideas. They had no clue how to attack. I thought Yankees put them under so much pressure at fly half. Really disappointing. And then you start looking at the team. They lost 57-0 to New Zealand in the summer. Now they've lost 38-3 to Ireland. Where do they sit on the World Rugby map? Not anywhere near the top of Tier 1. They're really struggling. And you played them right now in the World Cup, they wouldn't even qualify for the quarterfinals, I don't think.
There's talk of the World Cup being in South Africa.
There is, and there's a lot of debate about that.
There
Ireland
is.
aren't happy, nor are the French, if South Africa get the vote. But South Africans, you question the coaches then, and Alistair Coetzee under a lot of pressure. And this is a huge game for them. Over in Paris against the French, who performed OK in the second half against New Zealand at the weekend. They were a team that were shell-shocked in that first half against the All Blacks. All Blacks came out firing, went into a healthy, comfortable lead. Sonny Bill Williams makes a mistake in the second half, slaps the ball out, penalty try. That gives the French some momentum. It's a real hard one to predict, this game, because France aren't in great form. Loads of changes to their team. And the South Africans, who knows who's going to play?
You know what you say, we don't know who's going to play. You know the reason why? They're all playing in France.
They are.
They've all left.
Well, their best players, the likes of Ruben Pienaar, Francois Steyn, Dwayne Vermeulen, JP Peterson, loads of them playing in France. They aren't getting selected at the minute, but there is one guy.
Well, I think you mentioned him there. Dwayne Vermeulen. So he's back in the squad. Goode, he's been called up, out for injury for large parts of the summer with a rib injury, I think it was. I spoke to him actually in the summer. Took a while to get fit. You know, the physio surrounding around the French teams and the whole medical care or whatever. But he's back in. You talk about all these players going off to France. He's a cornerstone of that team. If they need something, they need some grunt. Why not bring a player of his quality back in, eh?
Yeah, he's a huge unit, a guy that really gets them some go-forward ball in hand. And you talk about physical South Africans, he's ultimately the most physical. So can he stem the tide? They suffered, the South Africans, defensively against Ireland. This guy can have a massive impact, not only when France have got the ball, but also when South Africa have got the ball. He will get them over the game line time after time.
He might be able to get inside the French heads, a bit of French psyche, because a lot of the French players play it too long.
They do. They do.
But who have you gone for in France?
Well, we looked at a couple of backs, actually, because obviously the French attacking flair is back. And we start off with a guy called Teddy Thomas. Played on the wing. He scored a try against the All Blacks at the weekend. Plays for Racing 92 in France. A brilliant player. He's got fantastic footwork, electric at times, ball in hand. And he's someone that can cause the South Africans a lot of trouble. Now, they struggled against Ireland defensively. The wingers for Ireland really dominated as well, ball in hand. Stockdale was outstanding for the Irish. So I think Teddy Thomas, off the back of a decent performance against the All Blacks, will look to back that up with another try-scoring performance against South Africa.
Is his real name Teddy, do you think?
Yeah, Teddy Bear Thomas.
Teddy Bear. Teddy Bear.
Very nice.
Oh,
But you've picked out a back that should be a forward, haven't you?
I have, yeah. And you talk about Toulon. Don't get much bigger than him. Dwayne Vermeulen big. He's going to be up against this guy. Bastareaud.
Matthew Bastareaud.
Nicknamed Ye Bastareaud. Ye Bastareaud. Exactly.
He's a big old boy, isn't he?
He is. He's a unit you can see there. Built like a forward, runs like a rapid back. He's a quality player. even when the French are going back or retreating, you want someone to get you on the front foot. This man can get you on the front foot. He's got great touch of hand as well, great offloading ability. We've seen him even use his kick, Marnonu-esque, so he's brought that onto his game as well. But look, he's a quality player, passionate Frenchman, and yeah, he knows they're going to be up against South Africa at the weekend. Let's see if he can turn it on.
Quick score prediction, you tell me what you think, Jim.
I think France are going to win. I saw South Africa, they were awful. Can they get any better? Even if they got much better, they're still not going to be that good, to be honest with you. So I'm going to say a comfortable victory for France. I'm going to go quite a high scoring game for them. I'm going to go 35-12.
35-12.
You?
I agree. I think France are going to win. It's going to be a bit closer than that. I think the South Africans will be pumped up. The French are very hard to read, as we know. But once they get that Stade de France, they are a decent team at times, and the crowd gets behind them as well. Off the back of a better second half performance against the All Blacks, I'm going to go France 28, South Africa 20.
Oh, okay. Not too bad. But we've got some other games, Goody.
We have.
We'll quickly fire through them. So we've got Italy, Argentina.
Yeah, Italy had a good win at the weekend over Fiji. Ian McKinley, fly half, who was blind in one eye, he came off the bench for his debut. That's really good to see.
He was, yeah.
I think Italy will win that.
You think Italy are going to win?
No, I'm going to go Argentina.
Okay. Yeah, I think Argentina will win.
Argentina, their forward pack's going to be strong. They're probably going to put Nicolas Sanchez back in at 10. El Magic, Juan Hernandez didn't perform particularly well. I think they'll just destroy Italy up front. The Italy pack of old had some big players like Sir Castro Giovanni, Bortolami, those sort of guys. They're all gone. It's a new age of Italian forwards. They're not as big, they're not as powerful. I think Argentina will get the win.
That's right. And we've got Wales, Georgia. I'm a big fan of the Georgian team. You know, how far that they've come. They're an emerging nation. They're still classed as a Tier 2 nation, but people are talking about maybe in the next 5 years potentially being in the Six Nations. We'll see what happens there, but they're up against Wales.
Yeah, I mean, they could cause a bit of a shock, actually. The Welsh will see this as a huge banana skin. Georgia beat Canada very comfortably at the weekend. I think they put 50 points on them over in Georgia. And they are the next, as you said, the next nation into the Six Nations. The chat of there being a relegation, maybe a playoff game between whoever finishes bottom, which is normally Scotland, or no?
What?
No, it's not normally Scotland.
No chance.
But Georgia are a team that could come into the Six Nations at some point. Some huge physical specimens there as well. Wales will win this, but it will be, for me, closer than a lot of people think.
Wales need to win this.
Yep.
You know, we would have seen Wales of old, maybe a slight rotation of the team, bring in maybe the fringe players. This is a must-win game for Wales.
It certainly is.
Brings us on to the last game, Ireland versus Fiji.
Well, Ireland's form at the weekend was phenomenal. Fiji will provide a substantial attacking threat against them. But Ireland, they're so well coached. Joe Schmidt, I think he's a brilliant coach. Potentially up there with Steve Hansen as the best coach in the world. Tactically, their attacking game was on point. CJ Stander had a big game, I thought, as well. Ireland will match them physically. Fiji will have the offloading game, but ultimately it will come down to the understanding of how to win international rugby, and Ireland have got that in spades at the minute, with Johnny Sexton at 10, Conor Murray at scrum half as well. World-class performances against the Springboks. This is going to be a comfortable win for Ireland.
Definitely, I agree. Well, that's it. That's our preview for this week's Autumn Internationals. That's us, Goody.
That is. Check out all the action on betsafe.com.
Remember, Saris, the principal partner, sponsor, friends of Saracens, my team.